All right, so do you want to maybe like introduce us first to who you are and what you're up to in the city?
Sure. I'm Charlie from 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮𝓲𝓫𝓮, and we're playing tonight at 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓽𝓻.
Nice.
Or the National.
Yeah.
In Montreal.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks also for agreeing to do this interview. It's huge.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I told you guys I'm a fan of the page. I think it's cool.
Right on.
So, yeah.
Without, I guess, further ado, if we were to do a starter guide on either 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓽𝓲𝓫𝓮 or just Charlie's own starter guide, where is a good place to maybe start?
I guess, I mean, I don't know, I think with 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓽𝓲𝓫𝓮, it's kind of, it's really hard to have like a, I guess like one sort of like definitive like starting point, because I think that's kind of what makes maybe the band actually sort of interesting, which is the fact that like everyone is kind of coming at it from a slightly different angle.
For sure.
So like my references or like points of reference musically are going to be completely different to May's or Lewis's, or you know, even Tyler's. Like there are lots of different channels of communication, and we're always like listening to music together, and there's like a lot of overlap, but like I don't know whether there's like any sort of like, you know, one singular maybe like starting off point.
For sure.
But I guess like I've literally got like basically no idea. I think like, I don't know, if I was to like start anywhere like drumming wise, the sort of drumming sound that you get on like the 𝓼𝓾 records, like I just think that like that drum sound, the way that it's kind of mixed, the way the snare sounds kind of weirdly roomy, I just think that like that is kind of the perfect drum sound, I think. And then also just like the playing style is just, you know, it's like really sort of weird and like angular, but also just kind of like holding down the whole thing. I don't know, I mean, really bad description, but yeah, I think like, I don't know, I actually like have started like, I've stolen like a bit from Good Morning Captain, basically like wholesale on one of these tracks that we play now. At the end of the song I Won't Always Love You that we play in the set at the moment, there's just a part where like at the end of Good Morning Captain it drops, and there's no snare basically for kind of like the whole first bit of the drop. It's just like and it's like there's no like, it would be so easy to just have that beat be like do, but like it's that kind of restraint and that sort of like alternative, that kind of weird, slightly off-kilter choice, I just think is so cool, and I think that I've tried in all of the drums that I kind of do in the band, maybe, to employ that same kind of like creative method,
for sure,
if you can call it that. So yeah, I guess that's probably like the jumping off point, I guess, really.
Cool.
Yeah, because I didn't like learn how to play the drums. I mean, I had some drum lessons, but I think that a lot more of my style was kind of informed by listening to music that I liked, rather than kind of maybe drummers that I liked, because I suppose, you know, great music, or music that's really resonated, a lot of it has had really kind of creative and interesting drum parts, and I've tried to emulate that.
Nice. When you say that, like, I guess what comes to mind immediately for you?
Well, with kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like, yeah. So obviously like all the stuff in the kind of like that Midwest emo, like the way in which the drums are kind of, it's obviously used within a conventional kind of rock band like setting, but you know, with I think like all the drums and the kind of like Captain Jazz, American football, like all that stuff. I know it's like kind of obviously played out, but it's just like it's just cool. It's just a cool way of playing the drums. It's a cool way to kind of mix up the whole idea of what like it means to be a kind of be a rock band, and like kind of to use instruments in a sort of interesting way, I guess. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm actually also just like, this is gonna sound like the lamest picks of all time, but like I think that not that it's, I think it's obviously great because it's, you know, massively informative on my like taste and style, but like the way that the drums like sound on like the Joyce Maynor like self-titled like record. I just think just like the way those drums sound are just like wicked. It just sounds so good. And I think like, I remember when we were doing Anthem Up There, like really wanting to have a kind of like you know, some of that like really heavy satisfying drum sound kind of in the album in some sort of way, which I think is like, it doesn't, the band will never be just that, but if you know, like that's the kind of the angle that at least to some extent I'm kind of approaching it from, so we'll have elements of that, and I think it will be satisfying if no one else for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I guess another question that comes to mind is around the time that you guys were recording and the songs for 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮𝓻 Hall, what were certain albums or songs that were kind of in rotation for around that time when you were making that album or recording the songs for that album?
I guess that, like, I mean, that's probably because I think that for us, we don't really think of it as an album. I think it's not an album. Like, it's a live performance. Like, it's probably the reason why we toured it so extensively. Is like that it is just like from start to finish meant to be kind of thought of as just like a concert that you're like listening to and that you're watching, rather than like a conceptual album as like a whole thing. So, but then also I think that like I guess because of that, we didn't approach it from the same kind of like, it's not meant to be kind of conceptually so watertight as like an album, which I think, you know, from start to finish you wanted to feel like it's musically kind of consistent in a way that maybe like a live performance doesn't necessarily have to be, because there's a massive visual element as well, which is able to kind of tie the whole thing together. And so I think with that in mind, there wasn't really the kind of the same sort of like, we're all listening to one album. This is like, I think, you know, obviously with the first album, like we were listening to a lot of like 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮 and stuff like that, and that kind of was a real jumping off point. And with the second album, like we were listening to like, or at least I was listening to a lot of like 𝓼𝓾𝓫 and Stevens, and then we were listening to kind of together to like a lot of the first like Arcade Fire album. I don't know, yeah, with this album there wasn't necessarily that kind of same jumping off point, but that you can definitely hear like listening to a lot of like Joanna Newsom, stuff like that, I think. And maybe it's kind of informing where the music will kind of maybe go in the future. I think Ease, that the Joanna Newsom album, I think May and Luke are like kind of like obsessed.
Do you know which one particularly from?
The Joanna Newsom album?
Yeah.
The Ease, the YS,
okay.
yeah. Or at least like, I think that they're just like so invested in like the whole back catalogue. Haven't properly dived in to, I guess, maybe sort of voice another one of her albums. But I don't know, I think that like I mean personally, like when we were kind of around the time when we were doing that, you know, I'm not really sure what I was listening to. Maybe I'll check. Let's see what I was listening to. I was listening to like a lot of like the Shins and like Blake Mills. Oh, we were listening to a lot of that Spelling album actually.
Oh, the new one that came out?
The one, not the most recent one, which like just came out. The
previous,
one, that album is so good. Yeah, that's like, that album's amazing. I was listening to like a lot of like Mitski as well. I'm not really sure how much that has kind of informed the sound of. I mean, I don't know. I think it was kind of conceived in a way that was so separate from kind of any of the other albums or any of the other, you know, things that we put out, that it seems maybe peculiar to think of it as kind of having the same kind of like, you know, jumping off points musically, which is actually kind of much more just like us being all together, being like, we have a goal to write this music and perform this music to kind of, you know, and
well, I was gonna say, like, is that because you guys took an active approach with 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮𝓻 Hall, making it more of like a, you know, live visual album experience? Like
that is the thing.
Okay.
Like, I don't think any of us really thought of it at all as like being an album in the kind of, you know, traditional sense. It was really meant to be a reflection of, or, you know, not a reflection, a presentation of the music which we've just been performing for like the last year or so.
Sure.
Because it wouldn't have maybe felt right to just kind of like ditch it in pursuit of like a brand new album, because I think we worked really hard on the songs, and they're good songs, they're, you know, and like I think the performance is great, and I just would have felt weird to kind of just like leave it But then also because it was never conceived of as an album, it would have just felt weird to put it out as an album as well.
That makes
so
sense. Yeah.
it just kind of seemed to be the way in which to present it in its kind of most true form, which is as a, you know, like as close as you could possibly get to kind of coming to watch it.
For sure.
You know, yeah.
Nice. Kind of maybe a bit unrelated to like the starter guide aspect, but
Yeah.
like in the realm of like music, is there anything in your current rotation that you've been listening to a lot, or that you like are really fond of at the moment?
I think we have. I mean, I've been listening to. I think we've been listening to in the band like, what's his name? Harry Nilsson's The Point.
Okay.
That album is so good. I think that's like really like wicked. In the van on this like this tour, we have been. I've been listening to. What's it? F sharp, A sharp, Infinity, the Godspeed album. I think that's like amazing. The new Home Is Where album, I think that's really, really good. I think that's just like, probably unsurprisingly really up my street. I don't know, I mean, I think like we're so kind of early into the, like, whatever the next album will be, it's so undefined at the moment because we've just been touring for such a long time that like, we haven't really had the chance to kind of write any new music properly, at least, or we haven't had the chance to write new music and kind of think of it as being on an album. It's very difficult to kind of to say whether music is kind of, the music that we're listening to is kind of influencing it or not. But there's obviously stuff that we all kind of like listening to. We listen to like a lot of Big Thief.
Nice.
That last Alex G album.
Fantastic as
So
well.
good, yeah. But we went to go and see Blur like 4 times this summer, which was good.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's actually one of the best things about doing this job, amongst obviously numerous things, is that you do get to see a lot of music, and a lot of it is like great. Like, and it's stuff that you get to just like going to a festival is a fun thing to do. And like we got to go and see like Boris this year at Primavera. That was amazing. I don't know. Yeah, it's like whenever you sort of see stuff, it's kind of always like cool. And actually, I think touring as well, watching 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮𝓻𝓲𝓫𝓮, who was supporting us, and have been since the start of the tour, is just like amazing. They are such a brilliant group, and like we've wanted to play with them for a long time. I think that like Lewis and I have really loved Arna's like music for such a long time, or like a decent amount of time, that it's just really fun to be able to kind of actually have someone whose music you really love come and play with you every evening, and to be able to hear their music every evening is just like great.
Yeah,
it's
for
really
sure.
good. Yeah.
I think also we're following up on like our last few questions, so we'll wrap up sort of soon.
That's cool.
And also this is kind of a completely unrelated question to like the starter guide thing, but knowing that there's so many of you in the band, like how do you guys decide who's playing what on the road?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, like our tour manager Sai, who's like, he actually kind of has been playing most of the music.
Oh, he's the one in charge.
Well, he's been playing, so we've been doing some like really long drives. So we've been doing like he had an 80s mega mix on for about 7 hours the other day, and it was just like, it's crazy. It was just like hit after hit after hit. Like, I mean, obviously it was a decade long, but to have that many hits was really like shocking. Yeah. We do listen to some music. When we were in Los Angeles, we were listening to Los Angeles themed music, which was good. We were listening to.
Is that also curated by Sai as well?
That was actually by Sai's son Basil, who's also here with us.
Okay.
I was playing some LA music. So it's like whoever can be bothered really to kind of put the music on. I think sometimes like it can be nice to put music on kind of thematically for stuff. Like when we were driving through, I don't know, like it just kind of, I always put on really sort of like music that I think, I don't know, is maybe a little bit more like low key. But it's always like stuff that you kind of like. Whenever I put on music, it will be something like I will always put on like the Purple Mountains album.
Okay.
Just because it's like kind of good at basically any time of the day. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, or like Big Thief is always great for like a journey.
Yeah, for sure.
But after a show, you kind of always just want to listen to something kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very like whoever can be bothered. Mostly, we've actually just been listening to true crime podcasts.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we listened to a really, really like harrowing one actually. Like, and it was really long-winded. And now actually we haven't listened to it anymore after that.
Yeah, it sounds kind of a bit intimidating.
Really
on the road.
Especially when you're like staying a lot of like roadside motels.
Yeah, well,
it's just sort of like.
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it kind of seems a bit sketchy.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think like there isn't a massive demand to kind of listen to a huge amount of stuff kind of in the van all the time, because after like 5 or 6 hours, you just kind of want to be doing, or at least personally, like I'm just kind of have actually just got like I'm just listening to like white noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I have one last question, but I wanted to ask if any of you guys had anything you wanted to add.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you've been following the page for a little while now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you like discovered artists through our curation. Have you like?
I'm almost certain that I have.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna look through the page and
Alright.
just because I'm like so certain that I have. I think that the way that you guys do the starter guides is like sick. And I also was just like, I was so. Yeah, I know. I was like so gassed when I saw like, that we were on one. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Yes, it was free cake for every creature. That was the
Oh, was that in like the collab?
Yes,
with,
it was.
Kelsey?
Yeah, that's right.
The yellow button.
Yeah, talking quietly with anything with you. I just think that you guys introduced that album. I was like, oh.
I love it because I think I give it a really bad rating. Like, I give it like a 2 stars.
You did, yeah. No, I was like, well, it's kind of a cool album. Yeah. It's I don't know. I think like there's also like a bunch of others.
Shout out the yellow button, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out Kelsey.
Love that page. Well, my TikTok.
Yeah.
It's just it's like a really accessible way of just like like discover. Oh, I was I didn't discover it through you guys, but you guys shouted out the sadness. I want to be there. You know that album.
Oh yeah.
Which I actually just think is like honestly one of my favorite albums.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess EPs of all time.
Pretty
I think it's I just think it's like amazing, and I haven't really. I think it's literally just like a person that I think it's just like one person that it's just their bedroom project maybe, but it's just like just think it's incredible, and I haven't like seen that many people like I guess maybe giving it like its day. So yeah, it was cool. Yeah,
it was. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Deep cuts.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I have one, like, it's just kind of like, I'm more of a personally just interested, like, where that, like, the klezmer influence came from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's just, like, something I'm fascinated by.
So I think that, like, that kind of came from Lewis and Georgia.
Okay.
So, Lewis and Georgia, they both went to music school. But I think before music school, Lewis used to do a thing, like a holiday camp, basically, called All Young Musicians, where you would go on summer camp as like a youth orchestra, and you would get people from all over the world, or not people from all over the world, but people who were trained and play in, musical groups that, from like, that include basically klezmer music. And it kind of just happened that those, I guess the sound of klezmer just kind of went really well with the music that we were sort of making, the kind of sort of weird, dissonant, slightly like, I guess like post-punky music that we were making like a few years ago. And also I think it was just like the question of kind of how to make the violin and saxophone sound good and interesting within a kind of traditional band setup. And I guess that's what they sort of settled on, and it just sounded cool. I think so Georgia also played in a klezmer orchestra.
Oh, okay, that
which
sense.
is so that's kind of So I remember seeing Georgia play in a klezmer orchestra. Like it was like in like an old garage that was turned into a venue in like London like years and years ago. It was like one of the best shows I've ever seen. It was really, really good. But that's the story.
Okay,
basically.
cool. Yeah, I always just wondered, so I just wanted to like ask that.
It is quite a weird sort of mashup, but I mean, I guess things always kind of come from sort of odd spaces.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I guess that was my last question, and I don't want to take too much of your time.
No, at all.
I'm curious to know if Riley has a question.
I was maybe going to ask what you thought of Montreal.
Yeah, cool. It's really nice here. It's like, I mean, I think when you're touring in sort of this way, you don't tend to get a huge amount of time to see anywhere really, which is obviously a massive shame. But we loaded in super quickly and went out and got some poutine. And that was cool. We sat in the park. I think I'm going to go back to the park now, get some fresh air. It's a really, really nice place. My mum used to live here actually.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, for like a quite, not particularly long period of time, but and speaks of it incredibly fondly.
Right
So
on, wow.
I got a text from my grandma today being like, "You're in Montreal." So it was really nice. I think it's a great place, and I would love to spend some more time here properly.
Right on. Well, we hope to have you guys back soon.
Well, if we're invited, we'll come.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this, by the way.
Not at all. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah. Oh my God, our pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry if my start guide picks were just like Midwest emo and like.
No worries, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it was great.
I do listen to other music. Loads of other music.
I trust it.
Yeah.
No worries.
Maybe just a last thing. Any bands you want to shout out? Like bands you're friends with?
I mean, I think for sure. I think just 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮𝓻, the people that tour with us, is like such an amazing group. Just so good. If you ever get the chance to see them play. Also, 𝓼𝓾𝓫𝓮𝓻.
I love them. Yeah.
Like they amazing, and they played with us a couple of times.
They haven't released a debut album yet, right?
No, they've got a I mean, I think because they've just kind of been in like a I don't know. They've been kind of writing music for a super long time. And Sam and Harrison, we were in music tech class together in sixth form, and I also used to be in ugly. But then the music they're writing now is so brilliant, and like
all the singles are fucking
literally like incredible. Them, the Long Faces. I don't know who else I should be talking about. Loads of other people I can't.
Of course.
Just those are the main guys.
Perfect.
Yeah, no worries.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think we've asked everything we could have asked.
Nice.
And we're happy with that.
Fair enough. Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thank you again. Awesome.
Thank you.
See you.